never die.
And this monster starts running right at me.
Annihilated by nuclear bombs.
Beast is not dead. I put 4 bullets into him.
Oh, you're crazy.
But I saw that monster too. All I want is for someone to believe me.
Contaminated.
Face. Horrible. Looked like it would scare you to death.
All right, let's get to work.
Beyond the shadows.
There are stories whispered in the dark about creatures that knock when they shouldn't, shadows that move when nothing else does, and eyes that see right through you. Welcome to Beyond the Shadows, the podcast that drags the hidden, the haunted, and the horrifying into the light. I am Victus, and I'm your intrepid and paranormal investigator. Each week we unravel the world's most chilling mysteries and explore the places where fear lives just beneath the surface. So light a candle, check your locks, and lean in close, because tonight we're covering the Queen Mary. That's right. One of our sound effects was delayed on that one. Hold on, wait. That's what I meant. There you go. That's what's supposed to happen. Wow. Yeah, very anticlimactic there. Soundboards are running like trash today. It's supposed to. I don't know what it's doing. It's not supposed to be doing what it's doing. Anywho, it's that's what I get for waiting the last minute to do checklist. Excuse me. I am a little. Look at me. Still actually setting a couple little things up. Hello, friends. Welcome in. This is Beyond the Shadows podcast. Tonight we are doing Queen Mary. I just need to finish setting up speech chat so I can see what's going on. Speech chat, control, voice. There we go. All right, it's up. Now I can see what's going on. Good deal. I think we're good. Let me do a test.
I'm using my robot voice.
That's right. There we go. Excuse me. I've been a little itchy this week. Here on the Eastern Shore, there's a lot of pollen in the air. It is rough. It is rough. We thought spring brought it all, but I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong. Spring did not bring it all. This is just the second of many rounds, and I'm hoping I don't get any type of sinus infection because that kind of ruins the point of being a podcaster at that point. Anywho, it's oh my gosh. So, I did speak with Aeon and Paul this week. Things are looking good. They have not given them any information about the podcast in that bunker underneath Area 51. So they have decided that they are a moot asset and they may be releasing them soon. That is to say, Aeon and Paul may be returning before too long. Things are looking good. They may be coming back. It's a personal thing they've got to handle, and they will return when they're good and ready. So welcome, everybody. Season 2, episode 22, The Queen Mary.
Hey brother, how's it going?
Hello, friend. Welcome. If I recall correctly, it is evening for you as well. Hello, how are you? How is your week? Things are going smooth over here. I had some paranormal news, and I meant to write it down or make a note of it, but I completely forgot to. So now I don't have any paranormal. Maybe it was on my phone. Let me check my phone. My news feed is really catered. Geez, what was it? I don't remember. I really don't remember. Oh.
Yeah, all good. Just chilling.
Good deal. I do have a personal story. I had, let's just say, an experience. That's right, that's right. Okay, so I've got a little dog, and every morning about 5:30 in the morning, I take him out. Take him out to use the bathroom. Puppy's gotta go first thing in the morning. That's just the way it is. Um, so I don't wear my glasses first thing in the morning because I don't want to see the world. I want to continue my haze of, sleep. So, first couple hours in my morning, I don't wear glasses. So, no glasses while I'm outside with the puppy. And I it was this morning, I walk outside and there's a perfect clearing from my back door where I can see the sky. I took a picture. Let me pull this up on this on the second screen here. um, Let me get logged into Google Photos first. I don't want to dox myself too bad. I'm about to show you a picture of my backyard. Like I'm really worried about it. But the photo helps. It's a good help. You can see what's going on in my yard. Let me switch scenes. So this is my backyard. So I walk over to take my dog out. Completely gray skies, but it's like strangely illuminated, right? And I see in the reflection of my car, which is there closest to us in the shot here, the blue one at the bottom right. I see in the reflection, see how you can see the sky. Maybe I was still sleepwalking or dreaming. I don't know. I swear I saw a triangular shaped object so large that both wingtips touched both trees on both sides of that photo. So I saw a wingtip here and a wingtip here. Can I mark this up? Can I mark it? Can you let me draw on it? Yeah, here we go. Can I just Oh, here we go. Yeah. I don't use this very often. So I saw this wingtip here, wingtip here, like a boomerang. And it was moving fast, fast, fast. It was huge. It was this big across my sky, right? Let me fill that in. Uh, and it was so fast. It was absolutely nuts how fast it was. This is how big the thing was. And I saw it in the reflection of my car first.
Oh cool. Black triangles very on topic this week.
Yeah, yeah. So I see it in the reflection of my rear window first, and I look up just in time to see it completely leave the area. It was so fast, but it was dead quiet. I don't know if I was still sleeping. I I, I don't have a clue. Um, but it it stopped me enough. I was like, I've got to take a picture to show exactly what I'm seeing, so I can explain this to somebody later. Um, yeah, it was huge. It was huge. It was a black triangle, boomerang, whatever you want to call it. But it was so fast that it stopped me, and I grabbed the puppy and we went inside. I was like, "Look, you can go out in a few minutes, but we're gonna sit upstairs and I'm gonna watch my cameras for a minute." It was completely silent, made no sound whatsoever. No sound. It was absolutely bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. So that's my that's my experience this week. There's the news. The news that didn't happen, but it's the news. It's crazy. Yeah, I don't know how else to describe it, but I saw it with my own eyes It didn't frighten me, but I stood still and observed long enough, because we do live by a military base here. We do live, 30 minutes away from NASA. So I'm like waiting for the sonic boom because we do get buzzed by aircraft all the time. They'll fly super low. They'll fly so low they shake the trees over here. And it never came. It never happened. It was really weird. Still just blows me away that it happened. I don't know. I don't know what it was. Um, or I have no evidence to prove that it happened, so I'm going to say I was dreaming? Question mark. I don't know. I really don't know. So yeah, totally off subject. I know. Sorry. Yeah, it was I have nobody else to tell this to. If I told my wife, she would freak out. So I'm not going to. Not going to do that. Anywho, it's um. So you weren't here last week, Lib, for the beginning. So now you get to see our opening segment that we. It's much more fun when there's more than one host here. But I'm continuing it in the spirit of tradition. Uh, but this next segment is my favorite segment, and we do this every episode, and we take great joy in this and great pride. But this is called "What Shirt Are You Wearing Today?" Here we go. All right, so this week I've got a special one. This one was cherry picked uh, because I have so many shirts just for the podcast now that it's like a crapshoot. What are we going to do this week? So I just stuck my hand in the it's not really a dresser. It's more like an armoire. We'll say dresser for now. Stuck my hand in the dresser and I was like, told my wife, said, tell me when to stop. And she's like, that one. Pulled it out. Here's what we get this week. The Mothman. The Mothman shirt. Love the Mothman shirt. For those that don't know, Mothman takes place in Virginia, and I am in Virginia. It is my resident cryptid, and I'm very proud of him. Whether or not he's real, we have not breached the subject yet. But this week we're wearing Mothman t-shirt.
Pretty rad, I gotta say.
Thank you. It's eBay's or not eBay. Amazon's great. I just literally Googled Mothman t-shirt, and this one had like there's more to it down below. It looks like the cover of an old comic book, and a bunch of different colors. But I decided to go with the black. It kind of suits me. So yeah. Now you've seen the opening segment of what shirt are you wearing today? Soundboard is acting wonky. That song wasn't supposed to be so long. I've actually clipped it to like 10 seconds. That's so weird. I wonder if I should just restart that tablet. I don't know. I don't want it to act up when I starting to need to do sounds. Yeah, let me go ahead and restart this thing. It will not interrupt the stream whatsoever. I just need to disconnect the cable right quick. This thing hasn't restarted since last week when I was using it. Lots of devices here. This is a full-blown studio, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screens. 1, 2, 3, 4 computers, 2 tablets, and a Chromebook running to make all of this happen. It is very complicated. It's even more so complicated when there's other hosts. Do all of this myself, and it has taken a great deal of work to get it done. But it's working for now. Hopefully in the future things will get better and this will be one large integrated system and things will work out. So, like I said, we're covering the Queen Mary tonight. Lip, tell me, what do you know about the Queen Mary? Do you know anything offhand? Are you familiar with the lore behind it? Are you familiar what type of paranormal activity we're going to be dealing with here when it comes to the Queen Mary? Because I do have a little bit of history with stuff like this. I grew up in Michigan, and it is very common for people to research into old boats because there's so many shipwrecks in Michigan. I know it's a ghost ship and not very up to speed with the details, to be honest. Okay, that's fine. It is kind of. I think I remember growing up hearing stories about it, like in just generic ghost stories. But I didn't really know that there was so much uh, paranormal stuff about the Queen Mary until I started researching for this episode. Um, there we go. Soundboard's back up. Let me get speech chat back up. Probably just needed a good restart. Touchscreen tab or touchscreen Windows tablets. They're phenomenal. I love it, but slow, slow, slow. If I could upgrade the RAM, I would in a heartbeat. All right, let me test my robot voice again. Make sure this is go. Let me plug everything back in there. Audio cables. All right, let's try this. Awesome. I didn't hear anything. Jeez Louise, man. Oh, there's the heartbeat. Okay. Wow, yeah, much more responsive now. I wonder if my controls, because I have more than one speech chat window open. Ah, yes, that's the thing. Now we can do this. I'm sorry this is taking so long.
Robot voice.
There it is. That's what we've been waiting for. All right. We're cooking with hot grease. So yes, the Queen Mary is a ghost ship. Let's get into the mood here. I've got some new sounds for this week. So this is going to be a trend now. Trying my best to increase the production value of this podcast, and my efforts of doing so solo is I'm going to be adding more sounds. And last week the sounds were a little quiet. I didn't know until I went back and replayed last week's episode. I am sorry they were so quiet. I'm sorry. At my end, it looked really loud with the audio monitoring, but this it just didn't. It didn't come through loud at all. So adjusted some levels, and I think we got it just right. I did a test run before we started streaming tonight, so I think we're good. So, without further ado, let's get into the Queen Mary. Here we go, baby. There are places in this world where history doesn't just linger, it refuses to leave. Places where the air carries the weight of the past, where footsteps echo from lives long gone, and where boundary between the living and the dead feels razor thin. One such place is floating off the coast of Long Beach, California. A ship once hailed as the pinnacle of luxury and strength, today is known for something different. Welcome aboard the RMS Queen Mary. The Queen Mary wasn't built to be haunted, it was built to dominate the seas. Launched in 1934 from Clydebank, Scotland, the Queen Mary was the crown jewel of the Cunard Line, a majestic ocean liner stretching over 1,000 feet in length, with a design blending Art Deco, elegance, and cutting-edge engineering. It ferried the world's elite across the Atlantic. Movie stars, politicians, royalty all walked its polished decks. For a time, it was the fastest passenger ship on the planet. So we're looking way back in the past here. We are dealing with So this would have been about 20 years after the Titanic. Was that 1912, 1914? I think one of the two. I always get the two mixed up. So this is about 20 years after, or no, about 15. The ship was built about 15, 20 years after the Titanic sank. So we're still dealing with this time in history where rich folks that want to travel the world, this is what we do. We get a luxury ocean liner. Simple as that. And it's got everything you would need. That's the thing about luxury traveling at the time, was you had everything you wanted with you. So during her peacetime career, the Queen Mary symbolized power and prestige, but the tides would soon turn. With the outbreak of World War II, the Queen Mary was stripped of her lavish interiors and repainted in camouflage gray. She became a troop ship, the Gray Ghost, hauling over 800,000 soldiers across her treacherous waters. Let's pull up a picture of the Queen Mary. I don't know why I don't have this already. I am sorry. I am a multitasker. And I'm doing lots of things at the same time. Oh wow, it's a lot of it's much larger than I anticipated. That's what she said. Oh, geez, I gotta have to zoom out so you can see this. Here we go. Let me switch scenes here. Here's the Queen Mary. Very huge boat, very big. It's reminiscent of the style that we saw early 1900s with the ocean passenger liners. What we're looking at here is your traditional boat building shape. Huge steel hull, and it brings to mind the Titanic. It really does. But this is the Queen Mary today, and it is moored off of the shores of Long Beach, California. You can go and visit it today. Where did my... Yeah, this... She traveled faster than U-boats could chase, zigzagging through enemy territory. Her job was survival, and she did it well, but not without cost. And in 1942, tragedy struck. While zigzagging off the coast of Ireland, the Queen Mary collided with her escort vessel, the HMS Curacao. The smaller ship was cleaved in two. The Queen Mary, under strict wartime orders, did not stop for survivors, left over 300 men to perish in the icy sea. It's a moment that haunts the ship's legacy, both figuratively and some claim quite literally. So now we have a murderous ship. This ship literally has cost lives. The ship directly has cost lives. This is a rare achievement for any type of vehicle, for the lack of a better word. You don't hear a lot about man-powered vehicles, be it wheeled. Well, I mean, you do hear a lot about wheeled vehicles killing people, but you don't hear a lot about large vehicles like this directly causing the deaths of 300 people in one go. So we're automatically setting the bar pretty high for the story so far. After the war, the Queen Mary returned to luxury service before being retired in 1967. She found her final berth in Long Beach, California, where she was transformed into a hotel museum and tourist attraction. But something came with her. Already cursed, exactly. I mean, the boat killed 300 people. Well, I mean, I imagine, 50, 60 of them died instantly, but geez, to just leave 300 people in the ocean to freeze because it's wartime? That sucks. That really sucks. 300 people. So Lip, I don't know if you're a Stephen King fan, but this is already giving Christine vibes. I really hope you're familiar with Christine, one of my very favorite books by Stephen King. Actually, one of the first Stephen King movies I've seen was Christine, and it was so good. But something came with her, something invisible, but deeply felt. Ask any longtime employee, tour guide, or overnight guest, and the stories come fast. A laughing little girl in an empty swimming pool, a shadowy man disappearing into the sealed engine room, a woman in white drifting silently down the hallway. These are not one off tales, they are consistent, persistent, and chilling. In this Act 1, we're going to walk you through the foundation of the Queen Mary's haunted reputation. We'll start with the ship's darkest moments. We'll examine the layout of the vessel and why its very design might be contributing to the energy within. And we'll look at the earliest known reports of paranormal encounters, some stretching back decades. Because to understand why the Queen Mary is considered one of the most haunted places in the world, you need to first understand the life and death of the ship itself. So, get in my announcer voice again. The announcer voice. Oh, that's harder than lungs. The Queen Mary was more than a ship. She was a floating city. From bow to stern, her labyrinth of corridors, compartments, and machinery created an environment where sound traveled strangely and shadows lingered longer than they should. She had 5 massive dining areas, 2 luxurious swimming pools, a grand ballroom, a hospital wing, and even a fully functioning post office. And within all that, hidden in the bowels of the ship, were the engine rooms. Claustrophobic, loud, hot, dangerous. The ship's guts. It's here in the engine room, specifically around watertight door number 13, where one of the Queen Mary's earliest and most enduring ghost stories begins. John Henry was a young fireman, part of the engineering crew that kept the boilers running at full speed. In 1966, during a routine drill, the watertight doors were ordered shut. Henry was caught in the doorway of door 13. He was crushed. According to the official report, he died from his injuries before medical help could arrive. But his presence, some say, never left. Visitors' employees have reported seeing a man in blue coveralls and a beard wandering the lower levels, vanishing before their eyes. Some say they feel a cold gust of air rushing through the narrow space, accompanied by the overwhelming scent of grease and sweat. Others claim to hear the clang of metal boots pacing behind them. Metal boots? Boots were never metal. That makes no sense. Whatever, I get it. Boots on metal, maybe. Yeah, I get it. I used to have a big, heavy pair of boots. I went through a goth phase. Others claim to hear the clang of boots pacing behind them, only to find no one there when they turned around.
Maybe it means like steel capped.
Steel capped, yeah. Like maybe that was the way steel-toe boots were in, what was that year? 1966? Where'd that year go? Oh, right on cue. We're getting buzzed by a jet right now. I hear it. It's so loud here. Yeah, 1966. Let's see what boots did an engine room man wear in 1966. A common boot worn by engine room workers, especially those working on steam locomotives, our later favorite motorcyclist, was the engineering boot. Well, let's see pictures of it. I mean, yeah. I think we're kind of... I could imagine he probably had like some steel plating or something, like on the toe or the heel. I don't know if steel toe boots were a thing back then. So it would make sense to me that maybe they would put something on, if I worked in a dangerous environment, I would find a way to make my own steel toe boots. But only, I mean, I say that because I know what steel toe boots are. But yeah, it's just engineer boots. Let's take a look at that. There it is. We don't want your cookies. That's an engineer's boot. I don't see much in the way of protection. That's a flat toe, so there's no steel toe in there. Oh, look, here's an original engineer's boot. Wow. Yeah, definitely not a steel toe. Extra reinforced high tops with waterproof leather, extra strong construction for the roughest wear. Supple, thick leather uppers with extra top sole with virtually double the length of service. 5.5 to 12. I could never. They would never make them for me. I wear size 14 in U.S. shoes, so it's yeah. I'm sure they probably came up with something to protect their feet because they're dealing with heat. It doesn't matter how durable you think the shoe is. Heat will destroy a shoe no matter how durable it is. So surely they had some type of like steel plating or something on there, I would think, right? Dealing with the heat of the engine room. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. Oh, let's see. Where were we? Tour guides often pause. Pause. I haven't had enough of this yet. Hold on. Liquid confidence. You gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. Tour guides often pause near door 13. Some swear they've caught fleeting glimpses of a shadow crossing the corridor. One former engineer claimed he once saw the door slowly opening on its own during a quiet maintenance check. There were no drills scheduled that day. But John Henry isn't alone. Take the first-class swimming pool, ornately tiled, grand in scale, and forever silent. It's no longer filled with water and closed off for years due to modern safety codes, but you wouldn't know it from what people say they've seen and heard. Let's find pictures of the pool. Oh, this is good. Yeah. No, that's not the Queen Mary. Yeah, let's do this one. Yeah, this looks good. It's so small compared to the other one. There we go. Check this bad boy out. Very, very Art Deco. This feels like the building from American Horror Story Hotel. Very Art Deco. Like, yes, it was built in the 20s. You could tell. Art Deco was very, very popular. I wouldn't use the word ornately tiled, but I guess I understand for, as old as it is, this was probably very ornate for when it was built. But yeah, that's actually kind of nice. I was hoping. Oh yeah, look, there's a picture of. Oh no, it's a photo. Here we go. This is somebody actually swimming in the pool. That's cool. Look, there's a fresco there. Was that in the other picture? Where's the other picture? Oh, you can't. Oh, no. It should have been there. They took the fresco out. Why? Huh. So yeah, I guess in its time, yeah, it looks much more luxurious in this black and white photo than it does today. So, guests have reported wet footprints, child-sized, appearing on the pool deck with no explanation. Others have heard splashing sounds echoing through the empty chamber. Some say they've seen the figure of a young girl in 1930 style swimsuit standing at the pool's edge before disappearing entirely. That girl is often identified as Jackie, and according to lore, she drowned in the second class pool. Now removed, the pool is, but her spirit seems to have migrated. Paranormal investigators claim to have recorded her voice using EVP equipment. One chilling clip captures what sounds like a child's voice saying, "I want my mommy." So I did try to get my hands on some EVPs for this weekend. However, all the good EVPs out there, you can find them online, but the people that have the rights to them do not want to share. Like they wouldn't even let me play them without. I was like, I just want to play it. I'll give you guys credit, and they're like, no, we don't. You know, these are ours. If they want to listen to them, they can come to our website. So, you know, it is what it is. This is the nature of things today. But we do have pictures. We're gonna get into some of the cases a little more in depth later, and I'm gonna pull up some of these pictures that I've got, and we'll look at those. But we do have quote unquote photos of ghosts, and one specifically in this pool area. Whether or not Jackie ever existed in the ship's official logs, her presence is widely accepted by staff and ghost hunters alike. And then there's room B340. More than a few brave souls have checked into this infamous stateroom, only to flee before sunrise. Reports from over the years describe bed covers being yanked away, lamps flickering violently, the bathroom sink turning on by itself. Guests claim to have been scratched by unseen hands. Some have reported seeing a man in the corner of the room, motionless, silent, just watching. The activity in room B340 became so intense that the room was closed for nearly 30 years. When it reopened in 2018, the hotel leaned into the lore, offered ghost hunting tools, and warning guests that refunds were not guaranteed for those who chose to leave early. And leave early they did. So, I want to say, I do have not personal experience, but there's a couple ghost hunters that I really enjoy watching on YouTube. They went to this ship in like 2019, 2020, right before COVID. Or maybe it was shortly before COVID, shortly after COVID started. So they were able to get in, but the ship was completely empty when they were there. And this story makes me sad, but it's just the way it goes with some of these things. They did an investigation, and they had a camera set up in this room B340. And the most prevalent story in this room is the blankets and sheets being pulled off of people while they're asleep. So they set this camera up, pointed at the bed, and when they went to watch the footage, there was obvious video of a blanket being yanked off the bed. So they're like, oh my God, this is incredible. This is the video footage we're looking for. Well, unfortunately, they were able to look at the video, and they found that right before the blankets moved, somebody shut the camera off and then positioned themselves and pressed record again and then yanked the blankets off. And if you look in like slow motion, you could see the hand grabbing the blanket, pulling it off. And then the lady that introduced them to the ship was like, I don't know who that could have been. And I don't know, it just feels like it was kind of shady. You're like, why would you do that on an investigation? These folks are spending their money to come out here and do their thing, and that kind of thing happens. Really bums me out. Uh, but you know, people will do anything for a buck these days. This is a thing that we do when we're looking at an investigation. Is we always try to see. One of the first questions we ask is, who's making money off of this? And we will cross that bridge towards the end of the episode. I promise you. But not all hauntings aboard the Queen Mary are tied to a specific incident. Some seem to seep from the ship itself, as if her steel hull absorbed decades of fear, violence, and sorrow. Longtime employees, some of whom have worked on the ship for decades, speak of the feeling, a heaviness in the air, a sudden chill, a pressure in the chest. It's not always accompanied by footsteps or whispers. Sometimes it's just there, watching and waiting. Take the old boiler room, one of the ship's most cavernous and intimidating spaces, is now hosts part of the Queen Mary's ghost tour circuit. Visitors walking through it have reported seeing faces peering out from behind rusted machinery. Others have heard a disembodied voice yell, "Get out," loud enough to make them freeze in their tracks. Paranormal investigators using thermal imaging have reported unexplained heat signatures, some even taking human shape. And I hate to say it, but this is kinda in the vein of somebody, like, I hate to say it, but I feel like maybe the people running the tours have somebody unofficially there to make noises off in the distance and hide. It's sad, but I guess I get it in a way. It's stupid. I get it, sorta. Not really, but and the medical bay, once used during wartime to treat injured soldiers, tells its own story. The ship was
Yeah,
equipped
they're
with a
selling
modest
an
hot.
experience.
Yeah, yeah, it's really what it feels like. I mean, I guess I understand it. If you've got somebody that's ignorant enough to not tell when there's somebody else sneaking around, making noises or doing their thing, um, and they're having a legitimate good experience, sure, by all means, let them do it. But when you've got people that are on, have a TV show running, they spent their own money to come and investigate your place. Don't fake stuff. I mean, that's not cool. Sorry, but trick the regular folks. Don't trick the people that are on freaking History Channel, right? So, today visitors have claimed to see nurses in 1940s era uniforms gliding silently between rooms. One man described walking past the surgical area and catching a metallic scent, blood and disinfectant, that hit him like a wave. There's no regional explanation for where it came from. The bay hasn't been operational in decades. In the old isolation ward, some visitors say they've heard moaning from behind closed doors. One guide reported hearing a raspy breath just inches away from his ear, only to turn around and find no one there. So I like that. I like that story a lot. I've had something very similar to that happen to me. Not in a haunted area. It actually happened out in the middle of nowhere. I'll be glad to tell you the story if you really want to hear it. But yeah, I feel like this is my favorite piece of evidence so far, because I know it can happen anywhere because it's happened to me out in the middle of nowhere. As the ghost stories grew, so did the ship's paranormal reputation. By the early 1990s, the Queen Mary was fully leaning into its haunted image. Ghost tours became part of its regular offerings. television crews from shows like Most Haunted, Ghost Hunters, and Ghost Adventures arrived to investigate. Some brought infrared cameras, EMF meters, others brought mediums, and all left with their own unique stories. Peter James, a renowned psychic and one of the early investigators of the Queen Mary, spent years exploring the ship. He believed that there were dozens of distinct entities aboard, including soldiers, children, and former staff. He claimed to have communicated with a man named Henry in the boiler room, a woman who sang in the first-class lounge, and a boy named Jeremy who followed guests down the hallway tugging at their hands. However, James was not alone in his beliefs. Visitors often report hearing piano music coming from the grand salon, only to find the room empty and the piano locked. Others have witnessed the lady in white, a spectral woman in an old-fashioned gown, seen drifting down the stairs or vanishing into thin air. She's usually spotted near the old ballroom and never acknowledges anyone around her. So you're new here, Lip, and you don't know. I can be a little bit skeptical about things. There's certain things I don't like researching, and that's the heavily researched stuff. So like Bigfoot, we're probably never going to do a Bigfoot episode. We're probably never going to do an Area 51 episode. We're probably never going to sadly, we're never going to do a Mothman episode. It's been researched to death. There's nothing else that can be done or new. If something new comes up, we'll research it. But there are things in paranormal, especially when it comes to ghost hunting, that I don't feel like has feet. Like there's some subjects that have been reported so many times that when you hear one, you go, dramatic eye roll. And one of them is the lady in white, the lady in brown, the lady in blue, the lady in black, the lady in green. It's all, there's always a lady in a gown. And I feel like it is a cheap grab just to get people to go, oh, there's ghosts here. Because we've been faking this story for years and years and years. We can pull up 1,000 photos from the early 1920s and 30s where people have photographed a lady in white, and they're obviously fakes. I don't agree with this lady in white story. I never have, and I never will. I'm sorry. I'm very opinionated about it. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. It's too cookie cutter. How else, if it reeks of them trying to just pull people in. And anybody could see a white shape from the corner of their eye and be like, oh, I saw the white lady. She was just over there.
Feels like it peaked with spiritualism and some people couldn't move on.
Right. It was the most popular form of quote unquote spirit. And, maybe it just stuck in the zeitgeist of people, especially here in America. And there's, Jesus Christ, there's so many. So I live on the coast. I'm like 4 miles away from the ocean. I'm like less than a mile away from the bay side of the ocean. But there's lighthouses up and down the coast here. And we moved here. We go and visit the lighthouse because I like lighthouses. And first thing they say is, oh, up here is where people reported seeing the lady in white. They say that she's... And like while the person is saying it, I kid you not, I was like mouthing the words. I was like, oh, she's waiting for her lost lover out at sea. Because that story's always there. It's always there. Come on. Come up with something original. The lady in lace. Give me the lady in lace. Or the lady with a tattered dress on. Break the mold, people. Be original. If you're going to try to trick people to come in, don't use the same old thing as people have been using since the 20s. Blah. Sorry. That was a ramble. I ramble sometimes. Skeptics will say the Queen Mary's old bones groan like an aging structure. That creaking pipes, rusty hinges, and suggestive lighting can play tricks on the mind, but even they admit this ship is different. There's a pattern here, a consistency. Same places, same description, same phenomena. Guess who don't know each other, don't compare stories, and haven't researched the ship, reported nearly identical experiences. Footsteps when no one is behind them, sudden drops in temperature, the feeling of being watched. This is very common. So this isn't something this isn't something new. This has always been, this is like stage one of a paranormal haunting. The footsteps are the big thing. So there's another couple of dudes I like to watch on YouTube. Their channel is called Watcher. Go and check them out. Please check them out. Awesome YouTube channel. Great pair of guys. They've been doing this for a long, long time. They're a little silly sometimes, but these guys get footsteps all the time. All the freaking time. And they will try to, like, there's one guy, he's like vehemently, this is ghost, it's a ghost, it's a ghost. Did you hear it? And the other guy's always like, it was the wind. But that's a good pairing. This is what we need for, an accurate form of investigation. You've always got to have the skeptic and you always got to have the believer. They balance each other out, but they always get footsteps. Footsteps are so commonplace. I've heard them back when I was doing ghost hunting. It's a very common thing. It's a stage one haunt. Stage one haunt. Get used to it, folks. It's there. Others have taken photos only to discover strange blurs, orbs, or even full-bodied figures that weren't visible to them at the time. Many claim that the Queen Mary is a quote-unquote conductor, a magnet for spiritual energy. The ship has seen nearly 50 recorded deaths on her deck at the time, from accidental drownings, crushed crewmen, to heart attacks and suicides. And some believe that the steel used in her construction holds emotional energy. Others point to the layered trauma of war, luxury, tragedy, and transformation. The Queen Mary changed roles so dramatically from a ship of dreams to a vessel of war, and now a haunted relic. So I do believe that energies can be stored. I'm fully on board. Residual hauntings, very, very prominent. I've seen enough evidence to know that residual hauntings are a fact. There's nothing in my heart that can tell me otherwise. I believe residual hauntings are true. They may or may not be actual ghosts, but residual energy being held in things. Limestone is a big holder of residual energy. That's why over in the UK, there is a lot of, I'm going to say, earlier in season 1 and towards the beginning of season 2 here, we talked about, we covered things like the Enfield haunting. One of my favorites. We said the haunting was probably not true. However, we did pull up some topographical maps and find out that the Enfield poltergeist, the house where it's at, was on a giant slab of limestone. And we know that limestone does hold psychic energy. We believe that the haunting was not a poltergeist, but we felt like it was more along the lines of residual energy, something stored in that limestone. The bulk of UK is on a giant slab of limestone. That's why we hear so many hauntings happening over there. It's when you find a story of a haunting, it sounds funny. You could pull up, Google the name of that town. Is it sitting on bed? What's the bedrock underneath? And I can almost guarantee you that there's going to be limestone underneath, because limestone holds energy. It's just, I feel like it's fact at this point because I've researched it so thoroughly. It holds energy really, really well. That's why Native Americans here in America chose their places of worship, because there was limestone there. It holds energy. My favorite way of proving residual energies and residual hauntings would be you've got a house that's been there since 1908, but it's been remodeled a dozen times. But every night on that one night of the year, enter date here, May 22, whatever. There's a child that runs down the hallway and phases through a wall. However, if you look at the original floor plan of that building from 1908, where that child phases through the wall, there used to be a door. This is a residual haunting. This is why we see so many ghosts that just pass through walls, because those are residual hauntings. At this point, it's practically, book knowledge. You get the idea. The phasing through the wall, there used to be a door. Residual haunting. Patterns in hauntings, residual energy stored in limestone. So,
Textbook haunting.
textbook haunting, that's right. Oh, right on cue. Like I promise you I wasn't reading ahead, but I was on a ramp. But listen to this. Here we go. Next in the script. There's even a theory that the ship is quote unquote active because of where she's docked. Some say Long Beach sits on a convergence of underground quartz and limestone rock, materials that are thought in paranormal circles to amplify residual energy, like a battery plugged into a ghostly power grid. You see? So, case in point, yeah, that's the reason why the coast hasn't eroded away, because it's made out of limestone. But there is a lot of quartz in Los Angeles. California is a weird place anyway. Lots of faults. So the ground is always shifting. I wonder if the fault lines over there have to do anything with the residual energies. I don't know. Anywhoots, whatever the reason, one thing is clear. Something lingers here. Not in one hallway or one room, but throughout the entire ship. A presence that seems to live and breathe alongside its visitors. A presence that doesn't always make itself known, but never really goes away either. So we've walked through the Queen Mary's timeline, from her celebrated birth to her wartime wounds, from peaceful voyages to unexplained phenomena, and we've laid the groundwork for the haunting tales still to come. But if you think the ship's history is chilling, wait until you hear what happens when the sun goes down. I'm gonna take a quick break. I gotta run use the bathroom, and we've got some firsthand accounts coming up. And in these firsthand accounts, we have photos. We've got some photos that people have taken. So stick with me, folks. I'll be right back, Lip. I gotta do the thing.
I will be
part of being
RB
human.
too.
All right, cool. Awesome. Here we go. Okay, we are back. Tanks are empty, folks. Doing good. We're doing good. All right. So, well, let me shift this view. Let's bring the. Let's close out these pictures of the swimming pool and the boots, and we'll bring up that picture of the Queen Mary again. There we go. Awesome. Welcome back, everybody. We're here, and we're going to do this thing. All right. Let me get the photos ready. I think I have them just about ready to go. Yeah. Oh, geez, we have... I had to go in and say my thing about the lady in white. We have a picture of her. We have a picture of the lady in white. Oh, geez. Anyway. We're going to carry on forward anyhow. So... It's one thing to hear a ghost story. It's another thing to investigate one. Since her retirement in 1967, the Queen Mary has become a pilgrimage site for paranormal researchers, thrill seekers, and ghost hunters alike. Unlike fleeting legends or isolated stories, the Queen Mary offers something far more compelling: consistency. The same rooms, the same voices, the same shadows, and the same corners. One of the first major investigators came from psychic Peter James, which we talked about earlier. During the 1990s, James conducted multiple walkthroughs of the ship, sometimes alone, sometimes with a camera, and sometimes with camera crews in tow. One of his most well-known claims came from the first-class pool area, where he reportedly made contact with the spirit of a young girl. He believed her name was Jackie and described her as being cheerful, even playful, curious about the living who wandered through her space. During one visit, James recorded what he believed was an EVP, electronic voice phenomena, of Jackie giggling and repeating the word hello. But Jackie wasn't the only one reaching out. James also documented encounters in the ship's infirmary and forward cargo hold. He claimed to have spoken with a spirit named
So
Henry,
technically
possibly...
she's not actually a ghost ship, just a haunted ship, since she was never found adrift and abandoned.
Right, yeah, because today people don't know precisely the term ghost ship. But yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. She's not technically a ghost ship. She's a haunted ship. We know, like you and I know, but for the sake of everybody listening at a later time, we know that traditionally speaking, a ghost ship would be a ship that was found floating with no crew at sea. It happened back in early maritime times. There's lots and lots and lots of stories of boats being found with no crew and no reason why the crew would have left. There's almost enough to cover a half of an episode, but not quite a full episode. There's some reason we haven't really talked about it. There's, 5 or 6 really well documented cases of a ghost ship. But you're right. She's not technically a ghost ship. She's a ship full of ghosts. So for the sake of newer generations, we like to call it a ghost ship. Good catch. Good catch. What about he claimed to have spoken with a spirit named Henry, possibly linked to the John Henry of the engine room accident. Henry, according to James, still saw himself as a caretaker of the ship, keeping watch over the boilers, corridors, and the guests. And then came the tech teams. As ghost hunting TV shows grew in popularity during the 2000s, the Queen Mary became a staple location. Teams from Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, and Most Haunted brought in thermal cameras, EMF detectors, spirit boxes, and infrared video
That's cool with me.
document.
Just showing my ignorance since I thought she was before.
No.
Also, I think the break music's still playing.
Oh, is it really? Oh, you're right. Good catch. Yeah. Yeah, I keep it muted and I'm duplicating sources. It complicates things. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So in 2005, an episode of Ghost Hunters, investigators captured a door closing on its own in the first class pool changing area. They also documented spikes in electromagnetic fields and temperature fluctuations that defied explanation. Perhaps the most striking moment when an investigator claimed to see a shadow dart past the end of a corridor, visible to the eye but not caught on camera. So, unfortunately, Ghost Hunters was one of my favorite shows. My wife and I love watching this show. Unfortunately, maybe these guys have got the TV host bug, where they're trying to feed into the energy of the show and make it more, digestible. Um, they did that a lot. They would be like, "Oh, I just saw a thing." Usually, it's like, "Oh, I just saw a shadow dart across that," and then that's when they would turn the cameras and look. Um, it. I feel like Ghost Hunters is better than Ghost Adventures. I don't like Zach Baggins. I really don't. He's just I'll say it. I think he's a douchebag. He treats his crew like crap. I don't like the way he talks to his guys. But yeah, they do this a lot. I just saw a shadow zip across. But then when they turn the camera, there's nothing there. Then they'll go down there, nothing there. Probably a thing that they do to keep the show engaging and entertaining. I get it. I get it. It's one of the very few flaws that show has, and I like that show. So Ghost Adventures returned several times to the Queen Mary. Zach Baggins, boo, and his team focused on Room B340 and the boiler room, locking themselves in overnight. During their lockdown, audio equipment recorded what sounded like distant moaning, metallic banging, and a faint male voice repeating the word "help." One team member reported a cold hand grabbing his wrist in the pitch dark, leaving visible red marks. So, I don't know. I don't like Zach Baggins. I don't like his crew. I think they're over dramatic, and he treats his guys like poop. So, but not all investigations are televised. Independent researchers and psychic mediums have flocked to the ship for decades. Some conducted controlled experiments, leaving voice recorders in sealed rooms for hours. Others used pendulums, dowsing rods, and even old-fashioned seances. Many walked away with eerie audio clips, names whispered in empty rooms, knocks responding to direct questions, or even sudden bursts of static when specific topics are mentioned. So, what makes the Queen Mary particularly unusual is the range of phenomena. It's not the footsteps, it's not the shadows, it's not just the voices, it's all of them often occurring at once. Lights flickers, doors slams, guests feel intense nausea in certain rooms only to feel completely fine once they leave the room. People have fainted in hallways. Some report vivid dreams while sleeping on the ship, dreams of drowning, of panic, of being chased through dark corridors, and always the sense of being watched. So let's get rid of this creaking boat sound. Let's restart our ocean sounds here. Yeah, the creaking is a little too much, I think. So now we're going to dig into the individual case files, real accounts from visitors, staff, and skeptics alike. Stories that didn't make it into television, and incidents so disturbing that even when experienced investigators refused to go back. Because not everything aboard the Queen Mary wants to be seen. Some things want to be left alone. I hope that wasn't too loud. It looked really loud at my end. So, we are going to look at some case files. We have the 10 most prominent case files on record. We have
It
one,
was
two,
a
three,
good
one, two.
volume for me.
Okay, cool. I appreciate that. It's really hard to tell what the stream sounds like because I'm using so many different audio sources. The only way I know is when I go back and rewatch and adjusting on the fly. New setups all the time. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. So let's turn our attention to the personal experiences. The ones that didn't come with camera crew, production schedule. These are the first-hand encounters told by former crew members, overnight guests, and investigators who swore they'd seen it all until they stepped aboard the Queen Mary. Case file number 1, the engineer's encounter. Ooh, we should do let's do some eerie sounds with nighttime ambience. Yes. In 1991, a maintenance engineer named Carlos, who worked for the city of Long Beach, was sent below deck to perform routine electrical checks near the engine room. According to his own written statement, he was halfway through the checklist when the temperature in the room dropped suddenly. He suddenly heard metallic footsteps echoing toward him. Thinking it was a security guard, he called out, but no one answered. The footsteps stopped right behind him. When he turned around, the room was empty. Seconds later, one of the heavy steel breaker doors slammed shut behind him, nearly crushing his hand. He never returned to that section of ship again. So I'm curious, how heavy are the doors? All right, come on. Somebody give me some decent info. How heavy are... Let's try watertight doors. Hundreds of pounds each. Oh my gosh.
I guess it depends if it's just like a cabin door or one of those bulkhead doors that you seal when it's flooding.
Right. They said specifically that this was a watertight door. So it says the weight of each watertight door in the Queen Mary is not readily available, but they are known to be quite heavy, likely weighing hundreds of pounds each. These doors are designed to be incredibly strong and robust to prevent flooding in various compartments of the ship. And their weight is a factor in their effectiveness. So I think we could agree here that it's probably a couple hundred pounds. If it's to hold water in a compartment, surely it's got to be a couple hundred pounds. I mean, like an average door is like 40, 50 pounds at the most, but they're mounted on hinges, which makes them easy to open. I don't see a door being so heavy it's difficult to open and close. I could see 100 pounds or so, at the least 100 pounds. But still, like, this door over here to my left is made out of cheap material. It's probably, 15, 20 pounds. I take that back. My house was built in the 20s. It's solid wood, so it's probably like 50 pounds. But a steel door that size, at least 100 pounds, right? Yeah, so a bulkhead door, a watertight door, has got to be 100 pounds at least. I don't see a ship that's docked. Only one door closing. I could see, maybe the waves are doing their thing, and all of the doors on that deck or all of the decks closing, but it's docked. It's not going to move a whole lot. I don't know. I don't see it happening. Not naturally. So it's a cool story. It's a cool story. So case file number 2, the B340 incident. In 2009, before room B340 was open to the public, a hotel staff member was asked to clean the long abandoned space for a private walkthrough. She was told to spend no more than 10 minutes inside. According to her report, lights began to flicker the moment she stepped in. As she turned down the bed, she claimed the mattress depressed slightly as if someone just sat on it. She fled the room without finishing and refused to return. Years later, she admitted in an interview that she still has nightmares about that day. Okay, cool. So we have elevated ourselves, the level 1 haunting, the footsteps, the odd sounds, the knockings, level 1. We're up to level 2 now, and we're getting closer to something akin to poltergeist activity, the sitting on the bed. So, in my experience, I haven't seen a whole lot of friendly paranormal activity that would sit on a bed. Generally, that activity is attributed to poltergeist or demonic activity. Generally because, what you're dealing with is some type of demonic or negative spiritual energy that's stuck in a confined space, and they have tricks that they go to. It's like playing freaking any, like Mortal Kombat. You've got that one move that you always go to. It's your go-to move because it's going to break their stance, break their guard. Sitting on the bed is a common thing for negative spiritual energy, especially demonic activity. Oh, geez, I just remembered the case I wanted to cover tonight instead of the Queen Mary. Hold on, I need to write this down right now. I know what we're gonna do next week. I know it. I need to find this girl's name. Hold on. So I saw the movie, but I want to do the actual case. So next week we're going to cover the exorcism of Annalise Michelle. So she was the girl that they made the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose about. Oh yeah, it's gonna be good. That's what we're gonna do next week. We're ready. Dry erase board for the win. Oh no! My little Funko Pop fell. My limited edition Logic Funko Pop. Yeah, buddy. I got you, bro. So yeah, that's what we're going to do next week. Sorry. I had to write it down, otherwise I'd forget again. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, demonic activity. So this is a common occurrence with demonic activity. It's one of the earliest stages of demonic activity is the sitting on the bed, because later it turns into physically sitting on the victim. This is where the old wives' tale about what we call the hag comes from. It's the old woman that sits on your chest. Some people called it a succubus, or no, it would be an incubus. But it's where the idea behind night terrors come from. So I don't want to get into too much because we're going to cover that next week. But so this is early stage demonic activity. It's interesting that somebody had seen it like within moments of entering a room, and the lights flickering.
Yeah, I
feel
had a
like
visit from the old night hag.
yes, yeah. So you know what I'm talking about. This is old energy. This is why this is the most commonly referred to as demonic energy, because the old hag has been around since freaking medieval times. Earlier, since we've been able to write, there's been stories about the old hag. So this is like early onset stages of the old hag. I call it the old hag. It's not a common, term anymore, but you see what I'm getting at here. So it's like early onset stages of demonic possession. So it's cool that came up. Nice segue into next week. It's interesting that the person saw it so quickly. But I guess if that demonic energy is stuck in that room, then I guess as soon as somebody's there, let's start playing, right? If it's been sealed for 30 years, like they said. Interesting. Very interesting. Yes, I've had a few experiences with the old hag. I'm not a fan of talking about it, but it is intense. It is intense. We'll cover that next week. Case file number 3, the voice on tape. A group of amateur paranormal investigators visited the Queen Mary in 2012.
Just to say the spooky background could do with being dropped down a notch.
Awesome. That's perfect. That's what I need to hear. Thank you so much. Let me turn this down
like
just a little bit.
Foreground ATM.
All right, stop it, and we're going to restart it. Should be a little quieter now. Is that better?
Perfecto.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Your input is priceless. I've been trying to get people to do this for me for a year now. It's so hard. So case file number 3, voice on tape. A group of amateur paranormal investigators visited the Queen Mary in 2012 and focused their investigation on the isolation ward in the ship's infirmary. One member left a recorder running overnight while the room was locked from the outside. When they reviewed the tape the next morning, they heard a quiet, gravelly voice repeat the words, "Don't open the door, don't open," again and again. The team submitted the clip to a local radio show and eventually to a parapsychologist who noted that there was no audio splicing or electronic tampering involved. I've heard this EVP. It is chilling. It is so loud and so clear. I would love to have played them tonight. Geez, I wish I could have got permission to play these EVPs. That's half the reason I chose this case, because there were so many EVPs involved. So, case file number 4. The ballroom dancer. A former event coordinator, Michelle, worked on the Queen Mary in the late 1990s. She was setting up for a wedding in the ship's old first-class ballroom when she noticed a woman in a long white gown spinning slowly in the middle of the floor. Boo. Thinking she was one of the wedding party, Michelle approached, but the woman vanished as she got closer. A quick check confirmed no one in the wedding group was wearing such a gown at the time. She later found out that other coordinators had reported seeing the exact same figure in that space. Case File 5, The Child's Hand. A couple visiting from Arizona decided to take a self-guided night tour of the ship in 2015. While walking near the old playroom on B deck, the wife claimed she felt a small hand slip into hers. Thinking it was her husband playing a prank, she laughed and turned, but he was several feet behind her. No one else was around. The hand had disappeared. She described the sensation as a warm and unmistakably real. It was so vivid, she said, that she instinctively squeezed back. Okay, so I'm not a fan of the phantom grabs because they have no good way to prove whether they're real or not. However, she put in a couple extra details, like she squeezed back and that the hand was warm, which is kind of unique. But I mean, in the world of paranormal, usually things are cold. It's a weird detail. However, I think that there's just enough detail in that story to make it real. So, case file number 6, The Laughing Girl. In 2017, a school teacher from Oregon booked a solo overnight stay aboard the Queen Mary. And around 2:30 a.m., she was awakened by what she described as the sound of a child giggling just outside her room. Thinking a family might be staying nearby, she opened the door, only to find the hallway empty and dark. When she closed the door, the laughter returned, this time much closer. She packed her bags and slept in the hotel lobby until sunrise. So this is a common thing. A lot of people will get freaked out and sleep in the hotel lobby. As much as the lobby as it could be. Yeah, it has happened enough that they've started refusing refunds. So take that for what it's worth. Case file number 7, The Shadow in the Mirror. A local photographer was granted special access to shoot paranormal or promotional images in the Queen Mary's former first-class lounge. While setting up his equipment, he noticed what appeared to be a tall figure standing behind him in a large decorative mirror. Assuming it was a member of staff, he turned. No one was there. He looked back at the mirror and the figure was still present. He snapped the photo, but when he reviewed it later, the figure was gone. Spooky. Case file number 8. The Screamer Below Deck. In 2003, a retired Navy officer named Doug signed up for a midnight group tour focused on the lower engine compartments. While deep in the machinery section, the group heard a long, blood-curdling scream echo through the steel walls. Thinking someone had been injured, the tour guide radioed for security, but after a full sweep, no one was found and no guests were missing. Doug said the sound was unlike anything he had heard during his 20 years aboard ships. I like this type of story, mostly because we've got somebody who's got a lot of experience aboard a ship. So, retired Navy officer, he did 20 years, and I think he would know what sounds would be normal inside a ship, even when it comes to, somebody being injured. So I'm going to say case file number 8 is real. Case file number 9, The Crying Nurse. In 1998, a security officer making rounds past the old hospital wing and saw what he believed was a woman in uniform sitting at the edge of a cot. her face in her hands. He approached to ask if she needed help, but she vanished before his eyes. The officer was so shaken that he requested reassignment to a daytime post. When he described the uniform, it matched those worn by wartime nurses in 1940. Ugh. Those are also good ones because you've got details that are brought to light early, and obviously somebody decided to question, what did it look like, and when they put the details together, they realized that it was a uniform from the 40s. Yeah. That's a good one. I'm going to say that's a real one, for sure. And case file number 10, the man in the suit. A British tourist named Graham stayed in the ship in 2014 and decided to explore the upper promenade deck alone at night. As he walked past the observation bar, he noticed a well-dressed man in a dark suit staring out at the large portholes. Graham greeted him, but the man gave no reply. Seconds later, the man turned and walked straight through a closed door without it opening. Graham checked the door, and it was locked. So, these are like the top 10. I want to say best recorded, instances from the ship. So I want to show you the photos we've got. I don't have much context to show you about these or to tell you about these photos. I could tell you about where they are. So let's get in it. Let's do it. So unfortunately, these are. It says QM Ghost Cam. The date on this is June 8th of 2006. And we see, I only see the one figure on the stairs of the pool area, but they're like highlighting the one in front of the diving board. Do we still have that? Yeah, look, there's something like dark here anyway. So like right here, it's kind of dark in the corner.
Your fresco back.
Yeah. Bastards. Taking that fresco out. So, let's look at the side by side here. Let's do a side by side. So it seems like in the corner there, it's dark anyway, right? I think this is just a shadow. However, I can't explain this guy up here on the stairs. Oh, geez. So it makes me wonder, because I know this is probably from, a still from a video. I would love to have seen the whole video. I really would have. But it's, you can't, it's definitely, it got shoulders, it's got a head. But I want this to be real. I do. But set up a camera and get the homeboys together. I can get somebody to put on a big black jacket and walk down the stairs, and I'll say it's a ghost, right? Right? Am I just crazy? It's easily fakeable. This is easily fakeable. I'm just being a pessimist here because the other half of the hosts aren't here. So, let's look at the next one. So, this is one of the many, many photos of shadow people captured in the long, long corridors of the ship. So this could go either way. You know, I haven't like checked this to see if there's any like metadata or anything, but it looks like pixelated enough to be old. All right, so so Lip, what we're getting into here is my area of expertise. I spent a great number of years as a freelance photographer. I collect old cameras. Um, I know how photos are taken. I understand how digital photography is done, and I'm pretty adept at picking out photo manipulation. Um, I'm the photo guy. I'm also I could pick apart some video. I could generally pick if a video has been edited in a way to misconstrue information. This feels pretty natural to me. So what I look for is a change of patterns in the pixels. And I'm seeing really consistent pixels all the way through. Nothing really seems out of place. So usually if a photo is doctored, you're going to find like really crazy pixels that don't quite fit in with everything else. Where this one looks pretty good. I like that it's not really solid black. And I like that the legs don't really fade out uniformly. But I don't like this part right here. This part makes me a little I don't know the technical term for this type of blending, but this part feels like it was blended manually. But if they did that manually, we wouldn't have consistent pixels like we do here. So I don't know if it was edited and then uploaded at a low resolution. If it was done very well. I don't see enough in this photo to make me say that this is fake. It's really, really hard to say. It really is. But my thought process goes to the reflections in the walls. If there really was something here, wouldn't we get some type of tamping on the walls? I don't know.
Me, but I'm no expert.
It does look a little off, doesn't it? Something doesn't look right. Too blocky right here, maybe? That's why it's like if they had done like this wispy leg thing, like this looks great down here. Like just enough of one leg, but not the other. That looks great. But when we start getting right here, this makes me a little, I don't feel good about that, the transition. It was like a quick blend job. Almost like they did it in like this photo editor right here. Like, can I edit this photo here? I'm just curious. Yeah, I don't want to open a bunch of... Anyway, it's... I don't know. Yeah, something just doesn't look right. Like, this looks good up here. The body looks good. But this doesn't seem right to me. Like, they tried a little too hard to make the blend from a really dark body to transparent legs. I'm gonna say this photo is fake. Somebody tried really hard, but I don't think they tried hard enough. Yeah, it's we're gonna say no on that one. Wrong. Let's look at this next one. So this is another one by the pool area. Let's go. Let's look at where this would be in the pool area. So this is the left side of the stairs at the top. So like right here, but the other side. And so this is one of the early photos captured on 8mm film. This is why the resolution is excellent. Even when zooming in, you don't get big blocky pixels like you would get with digital photography. So this tells me that this is actual film. So this is probably one of the earlier ones from 2007 or 2008, I believe. The grain is consistent with 8mm photography. I don't see anything here to indicate any type of doctoring. It is it's not a photo of a photo, it's a cropping of a photo. So very likely they had a zoomed out photo like this and they saw the face. So this could very easily be that I feel like this is real. This is real. I'm going to say this is real. I'm going to say that this is the little girl. What's her name? Jackie?
Looks like those pool stairs are a popular spot for ghosts to hang out.
Yes. And we've got a great number of them in this area, but these were just like the cherry picks of the bunch. I like this photo because it seems the most real so far. I'm going to say that this one's real. Let's be honest, if you got a child this small, they're probably not going to be wandering around this boat by themselves. Cool. I like it. I like it a lot. Let's go on to the next one. All right. So here we go. This was this was from Ghost Adventures. Zach Baggins. I don't like his stuff, but I do like this photo. 3 photos taken in quick succession. The figure is in one, but not the other 2. These are out of order. All right. Well, the photo on the right, that was first. The photo on the left is second. The photo in the middle is third. So these were moved out of order for some reason. Let's look. Let's have a look-see. I'm not seeing. Oh, wait.
That's never a good sign.
Yeah, I'm seeing. Okay, so I don't know how well the color translates to what you can see here. All right, so he's just a little bit back from this white stripe on the floor. So let's look on this photo. White stripe on the floor. Ah. We have a doctored photo. Let me show you what I see. So right here, At the feet, we've got a red pigmentation in the pixels. It's here, it's all through here, it comes up to the walls, it's up through here. There's a little bit here, a little bit here. It's very, very subtle, but I see it. You know, I've got a 50-inch or 45-inch monitor in front of me. I can see this. So let's look over here. Those same red pigmentations. See how much less of a definition we have here in the same zoom? So this image has been re-rendered to increase sharpness. Yeah, look, there you go, side by side. Look how much closer, or look how much sharper this image is compared to this. See how this wood paneling is much more vibrant here? Like the reds are brighter in the wood, where they're more muted on the left. And even still, we come over here, these reds are even more vibrant, but the hallway has less definition. So the artifacting in this doesn't match the other two. So I hate to say it, but this is probably doctored. This is early 2000s digital photography. This is the type of photo you would get. Your further out pixels are going to be a little more muddled and muddy, whereas these are very blocky and indicative of editing. So I'm going to say this is fake. I really, really want this to be real, but probably fake. It sucks. That's a good photo too. Yeah. And our last one. Here is Our Lady in White. Also by the pool, of course. Yeah, I think it's this little... Oh, she's here. There's a little doorway here.
Your favorite.
Yeah. Lady in White. You know, let me get a group of people together and take photos. Oh, there's a girl in the group. Give her a white dress. Let's take some photos. Boom. We're viral. I'm going to say it's fake. I'm sorry. It just seems fake to me. It just seems fake. Maybe I'm just biased. I don't know. It could be very possible that I'm biased because I've come across so many things of people faking. But all right, I need to step away for just a quick second. I will be right back, folks, and we're going to wrap this thing up for the night. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Lots of liquid shoot through me like a laser beam. All right, so we're going to rip through this last section. I've got 2 more pages to read. Sadly, I feel like we've debunked a few of the, more than a few of the photos, the most popular photos. But, you know, that's the way it goes. My puffin device. One of the most widely accepted explanations among paranormal researchers is the concept of residual energy. According to this theory, the Queen Mary structure, rich in steel and iron, acts as like a recording device. Traumatic events, emotional outbursts, and sudden deaths create an energetic imprint that repeats itself almost like a supernatural echo. This would explain the consistency in sightings. The lady in white in the ballroom, even though we saw pictures of her in the pool. Just saying. Jackie by the pool. John Henry in the engine room. These aren't conscious spirits, but loops. Residual hauntings replaying like reels of film. Another popular theory is that of the intellect of the haunting. These spirits are said to retain awareness. They interact, they react. Paranormal investigators who've asked questions and received direct EVPs believe something aboard the ship is listening. When visitors ask, is anyone there, a recorder picks up a whispered yes. It's hard not to believe that someone or something is answering. Some investigators point to environmental factors. The Queen Mary is constructed with thousands of tons of metal, and she now rests on a pier surrounded by water, 2 ingredients that some researchers claim amplify electromagnetic energy. Water, especially salt water, is believed to be a conductor of spiritual energy in many metaphysical beliefs. The theory goes that spirits are more easily able to manifest in such environments. Combine this with Long Beach's location near quartz-heavy geological formations like limestone, and you have a paranormal, quote, perfect storm. Then there's the collective belief that the idea that the more people believe in a place is haunted, the more likely that they are to experience something. And this isn't just about suggestion, it's about energy. Believers argue that emotion, fear, expectation, and belief are forms of energy in themselves. And when hundreds of thousands of people visit the Queen Mary every year expecting to see ghosts, their energy may help fuel the phenomena. So this is not uncommon. This is why when you see ghost hunting shows, their cameras or flashlights or something battery powered will lose. They'll say, oh, that was a brand new battery, but it's dead. It's not turning on. The belief is that spirits can pull electric energy from things, or can pull energy from things and use that to help manifest. So that's why you see so many times ghost stories, ghost movies, movies about hauntings. There's always somebody where a flashlight quits working, or their phone dies, or I was recording this, but now the recorder's battery is depleted, because those spirits in that area are using that energy to manifest themselves. Another more chilling theory involves attachments, that spirits, particularly those died in moments of trauma, may remain tied to their place of death. On a ship that saw everything from fatal accidents to wartime terror, the idea that some souls may have never moved on isn't that far-fetched. Many believe that Jackie, the child in the pool, falls into this category. Others suggest that Room B340's activity points to something far darker, an entity that might not just be trapped but territorial. See, this is what we were getting at earlier with the idea of the early stages of demonic activity. And finally, we can't ignore the psychological theories, pareidolia suggestions, the power of storytelling. Skeptics argue that the Queen Mary is a masterclass in sensory manipulation.
So
Long
next time I go
corridors.
ghost hunting, I should take a big battery to give them some juice.
Sure. Yeah, that's actually something. One of the ghost hunting groups that I ran with about 8 or 9 years ago, we brought a bag full of rechargeable batteries, and we would set it in the middle of the house that we were investigating because we believed that they would feed off that energy and use it to manifest. It's not so far-fetched. It's not really. It might work for you. You never know. Skeptics argue that the Queen Mary is a masterclass in sensory manipulation.
Oh,
Long corridors.
did it work?
Oh yes, it always worked for us. I got my first. So going back to one of my, it wasn't the first investigation, it was the second, I think. We were in an old brothel from the early 20s. It was a little bitty town in Arkansas. And we had set, they told, I said, well, look, I've got my own camera equipment because I'm particular about this. I was the tech guy. So I would set up the cameras, I would do everything because I knew if I did it, I knew it would be right. And I knew that if we got anything, I knew that my end was covered. So I grabbed all my equipment, and the guy that ran the group was like, here, take this bag with you. I said, well, what is it? He said, it's just 5 or 6 rechargeable batteries for old cameras that we don't have anymore. And that's when he explained to me about, they would like to pull energy from where they can get it. And this guy, we put this bag full of batteries in the second story of a house before we even started. So we went upstairs, put the bag of batteries, left it, came downstairs, did our thing. We didn't get much of anything. And an hour or two later, we went upstairs, and we were sitting on the floor trying to get EVPs. And I had like a Sony handheld camera. I've got it somewhere here behind me in one of these bins. It's just a cheap little, Sony handheld camera, digital camera. And we were asking questions, doing all this, everybody shut off their lights. And we heard a weird noise, and we asked specifically, is there anybody here with us? And on my camera, you could see a green light just kind of float and then whoop, zip away right quick. And I didn't see it live because I had it in front of my hand, in front of my face the whole time. We did not see it until the next day when we went back and rewatched the video. But it was just really, really bizarre. I've never seen another green orb anywhere else in my life, ever. And we got some really interesting responses with the touch light. So we would do a mag light, and then you turn it to almost off, and you set it down, and you would ask questions. And the point of this is it's if you were to touch this light just a little tiny bit, it would make the light turn on. But then you could touch it again, it would turn it off. And I had this video. I don't have it anymore. I really ought to reach out to these guys, see if I can get my hands on this video. But I'm looking at a light from both sides. It was resting on a 2x4 in front of me, and I was sitting at eye level with it. And I've got the camera in my hand, and I'm going back and forth from the front of the flashlight to the back of the flashlight to prove that nobody's touching it. And we were asking questions, and it was turning the light on and off, answering these questions, and it was just absolutely bizarre. And we got crazy orbs that night. It was I don't like orbs. I really feel like it's dust particles, but we had cameras running all night long and no orbs. And eventually we had somebody had called the police because we were inside a business, after, it was like 11 o'clock at night. We were inside a business upstairs and somebody called because there's people in there with flashlights on. So the police show up. And if you look on the cameras, the second the police walked into the building, they were cool about it. Once we told, we're just doing a paranormal investigation, promise we're not trying to steal anything. They were cool about it. I was like, come on in, check it out. We'll show you what we're doing. And they came in, and the second they came in the building, we went from not a single orb on like 12 cameras to the screens being flooded with orbs. It was just really, really bizarre. Really, really bizarre. So later, we pick up everything and we went back to headquarters and we're putting cameras, on chargers, whatever. I pulled all the batteries out of that bag and every single one of the batteries were dead. So I firmly believe that they're pulling energy from rechargeable batteries to manifest themselves. And that's just personal experience. I'm sure somebody's listening to this right now.
Sounds like a great investigation.
Yeah, it was a blast. It really was. I'll give you one more story from that, and then we've got to move on so we can wrap up. But we were sitting on the floor when we started doing the EVPs, or trying to do the EVP session. We didn't get the EVPs, but shortly before the green orb showed up on camera, we were using something called what was it? It was like a digital version of the Spirit Box, but it ran on your phone instead of a standalone device like what you see in most TV shows today. But the way the app that we used did it is it played the audio in reverse. So it eliminated a little bit of doubt, because you can scan radio frequencies, and if you're listening hard enough, you'll eventually string together a couple words. But if the audio is played backward, it's a little harder for them to put words together by accident or just by wishful thinking. So I've got my phone sitting on the floor, and we're running this app called the Portal. I don't think I have it anymore, but you can get it on the Google Play Store. It's called the Portal. Play with it at your own risk of not sleeping very well. But the Portal is running and the audio is playing backward, and it's spooky as it is, right? The audio is it just sounds spooky because your audio is backward. And I was listening to it. I had my eyes closed. I had my hand over my face. I was listening because I was really trying to concentrate on what we were hearing. And I swear I kept hearing the name Sierra. It's like Sierra, and then there would be a bunch of sounds. Sierra, blah 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 blah. Sierra, blah 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 blah. Sierra, and I look up, and like I only knew one of the other people in the group because I was new to the group at the time. And I was like, I looked at the person sitting across from me. I was like, do you hear that? They're like, what's that? And I was like, do you hear Sierra? They say, yeah. I was like, they've said it like 8-9 times in a row. I said, I don't know who Sierra is or what they're talking about, but they really like Sierra. And there was this little like 14-year-old girl that was in our group, that she was like standing in the corner. And she's like, oh, that's my name. I said, what? She's like, yeah, that's my name. My name's Sierra. She told me her full name. I was like, no way. She pulled out her little identification card, because that's what we do when we're 14. We have IDs, right? She pulled out her little ID card and showed me her first name is Sierra. She's like, oh, they're always like that. They like me. I said, no freaking way. No freaking way. So, just a personal experience. It was a wild story. It was a crazy investigation. I really, maybe after tonight, after we get off the live stream, I'll see if they've got that old video on stream or on their website or something, and see if I can pull it up and stream next week. But it was really wild. Like, up until that point, I did not know that girl's name was Sierra. And I pulled Sierra from that app at least 9 or 10 times. It was just absolutely bizarre. So take it for what it's worth. It's a crazy story. I believe that it was true because I was there, and I used to be the skeptical guy, but now I'm the guy that wants to believe because I've seen it firsthand. All right. So we're down to the last little bit here. So, for every well-documented encounter,
she was so chill about it.
Oh yeah, she was like the whole time, like she was just sitting in the corner. And then when I said, I was like, I don't know who Sierra is, but I really like her. She goes, that's me. That's my name. As calm as that. She was so chill about it. Yeah, like I talked to her later. She was telling me that, like, I've been dealing with stuff like this since I was like 8 or 9 years old. I've always had my name being called out. Didn't know what it was. We like to call her our group sensitive. She was our sensitive. For some reason, the spirits liked her, and we couldn't figure out why. Unfortunately, I didn't hang out with that group for too long. I did have a full-time job, and it's really hard to do nighttime investigations and a full-time job at the same time. So we only did a couple others after that, but as far as I know, the group is still doing investigations. But yeah, it was just wild. It was absolutely wild. You can't beat firsthand accounts. I can tell you the stories till I'm blue in the face, but until it happens to you as an individual, it just won't. It won't ever take root like it did with me. It changed me fundamentally. You see what I'm doing today. So. So, for every well-documented encounter of the Queen Mary, there are stories buried beneath the surface, unsolved deaths, unconfirmed reports, and the legends passed from one crew generation to the next. These aren't just tales of ghosts, but these are tales of stories that exist in the gray spaces between history and myth. Events that never made it into the official logbooks, encounters whispered about but rarely discussed openly. One of these most famous accounts centers on the HMS Curacao disaster. Officially, over 300 men died when the Queen Mary struck her escort ship during World War II, but some paranormal researchers believe that the number was underreported. Survivors of the Queen Mary's wartime service later spoke of sealed compartments, bodies hidden from view, and rumors of ghostly figures seen along the hull in days that followed. Some even believe the ship was cursed afterward, doomed to carry the spirits of those lost beneath her bow. Those are also legends of a stateroom sealed since there is also legends of a stateroom sealed since the 1970s, known only to a few longtime staff as Cabin M. Unlike Room B340, this room was never reopened, never acknowledged in tours or promotions. Rumor has it the door was welded shut after multiple reports of violent poltergeist activity, including levitating furnitures, gashes appearing in the walls, and a hotel guest found unconscious and bloody with no signs of forced entry. Officially, the room doesn't exist, but some employees claim to have seen light coming from beyond behind the door. And then there's the story of the man in the naval officer's uniform, seen near the old officer's quarters. Some say he's the ghost of the ship's captain. Others think he's connected to an alleged suicide, an officer who took his own life after a disciplinary hearing gone wrong. There's no official record of the event, but several guests and staff over the years have reported seeing a tall, stern faced man standing silently in hallways before disappearing through locked doors. But not every mystery on the Queen Mary can be proven, but they persist. Because in a ship so massive with so much history, not everything can or should be explained. The Queen Mary is docked, silent and motionless. But make no mistake, the ship is still moving through time, pulling history along her like a heavy anchor. Today, the RMS Queen Mary is many things: a floating motel or hotel, a museum, a venue for weddings and events. But for those who've walked her dimly lit hallways at night, she's also something much more: a monument to mystery. She no longer crosses the Atlantic, but she continues to carry the weight of countless souls. Some remembered, some lost, some perhaps still aboard. The stories we've explored here tonight aren't just for entertainment. They're a reminder that history has layers and that even in an age of science and skepticism, we don't have all the answers. Paranormal researchers continue to study the ship. Skeptics continue to challenge the claims, and tourists continue to visit in droves, hoping to see something, or maybe hoping not to. And while the Queen Mary may now be a stationary landmark in Long Beach, her legend remains in motion, driven forward by every new whisper, every cold draft, every unexplained knock in the night. Perhaps it's the ghosts that keep the ship alive, or maybe it's our fascination with the unknown. Either way, the Queen Mary isn't finished telling her story. As long as people keep listening, she never will be. All right, cool. We've got through the whole script. We managed to do it. We ran a little bit over tonight, but it's all right. Oh, what a fantastic story. This is we we heard a lot of stories tonight. We've looked at a lot of photo evidence. We may or may not have debunked a few of them. Um I don't feel as grounded and secure in my ideas of what I feel like I believe. But when it comes to the end, we've got to look at the facts. It's plain and simple. It's plain and simple. It's what we do. It's what I do as a paranormal investigator. Is I do what I can from a distance, and
That was great.
um,
Was nice to learn about the details.
hey, I'm glad you were here tonight. So let's break it down. So out of how many photos did we pull up? One, two, three, four, five photos. We okay, so we didn't like I didn't like the white lady. I'm sorry, easily fakeable. We had two photos that looked probably doctored, and the only one that really looked of any consequence was the little kid looking over the hand railing. This one right here. This is the only one I don't feel was manipulated. I like this one. Oh, you can't even see it. I'm sorry. But this is the one I like the best. Uh, it it feels the best to me. It's the most genuine, and it's done on film. Uh, that being said, let's ask the important questions. So first things first, who's making money off of this? So the current owners, technically, of the ship is the United States government. They turned it into a floating hotel to make some money, as we do as Americans. Um, I don't see the government hiring somebody specifically to yuck up the story to make it more unbelievable than it is. I don't see them hiring somebody to go and say, "Oh, I need you to be spooky," when somebody's walking through and recording a TV show. However, I do see the individual that the government hired to take care of the hotel hiring somebody to do that. So now I'm going to take in some evidence that I haven't really displayed for you for the show tonight. Um, I'm going to take into account the investigation that I've seen video footage of where the camera was stopped, somebody got into the shot and then hid themselves, started the recording again and moved the sheets, moved the blankets. I'm going to take that into account. Let's look at the photo evidence. Uh, 1 out of 5 photos I believe tonight is probably the only one undoctored, but we're not going to overlook the fact that from its launch, there may have been some mishaps while it was a luxury liner initially, but immediately after turning into a military vessel, the vessel itself was responsible for 300 deaths. Uh, we did have reports of there may being more deaths than 300, but officially there was 300. That's a lot of people. No matter how you cut it, that's 300 people lost their lives against the hull of the Queen Mary. However, going back to my initial question, who's making money off of this? We do have an independent company that has the rights to send people in to record video, take photos, to record their podcast, record their YouTube channel, what have you. Uh, they are making money off of this. And I believe that there's something here that made itself known early on, and it's probably a residual haunting. But in order to keep public interest, people are probably today faking paranormal experiences, selling the so like you said earlier in the episode, Lip, they're selling the experience. I do believe that the woman who's running it now, and I don't know if it's the woman now, but at the time of the show that I watched, the person that's running it now probably goes to the side and says, "Hey, I need you to go over there and spook these people, make some sounds, and then go hide in a corner somewhere." I feel like that's happening. And unfortunately, that is delegitimizing the experience for professionals to prove that there is something really going on here. However, I am going to say that there has been so much activity from nearly day one to present day that there is so much evidence that I feel like that this ship is inherently haunted. However, I feel like the malicious intent of the persons involved faking the experience is muddying the waters, and the spirits involved aren't acting because of those people. That's why we're not seeing photos like this one that you see here today. And the only photos that we're seeing today are obviously doctored because they want to continue that legacy. But let me say, when it comes to folklore, when it comes to long-standing stories like this, like at the Queen Mary, the stories had to have stemmed from somewhere, right? So I'm going to say that the Queen Mary is haunted, but maybe the residual energy is finally fading and there's people keeping that energy alive deceptively. Unfortunately, that's my opinion. I'm sorry. I've seen video evidence of people faking paranormal experiences. Um, I believe there was something there to begin with. That energy has faded, and in order to keep bringing money in, they're faking it today. Maybe those spirits have moved on. I do believe that maybe, you know, since the 90s, they've been having psychics run in and out. I believe in my heart of hearts that a psychic is going to do its best to help whatever spirits are there to move on. And maybe the right one came through and helped the spirits there move forward. But to keep that story alive, they're faking it today. And somebody would have to come forward with some really spectacular, evidence today to get me to change my mind. But we haven't seen any real solid evidence in almost 10 years. So I'm going to say reluctantly that the Queen Mary is no longer haunted, but it used to be. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Wrong. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say that it's just not haunted anymore today. However, I do believe that it was haunted in the past. So, that being said, um what a great show. What a great subject. What a great topic to cover this week. We ran over almost 30 minutes over tonight, longer than we usually do. Uh, Lip, I'm glad you're here tonight. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate your conversation as always. It's nice to have somebody to
Need to give
keep
it
me on
some more
my.
rechargeable batteries.
That's right. Somebody needs to take a backpack full of rechargeable batteries in there and see what happens. Uh, and not just the devices they're using. Take some some batteries. I don't think like power from the walls are going to work the same way as a rechargeable battery. So, if you're out there, investigators, and you're about to do the Queen Mary, take a bag of batteries with you. Let them eat that energy. Let's get some of these old school ghosts back in there. Let's see some new photo and video evidence. Um, Also, if you get EVPs, let podcasters use your EVPs for Christ's sake. Come on, it's not like you're making millions of dollars off of it. Ah, any hoots. Um, so what's next week? Next week we're gonna do the possession of Annalise Michelle. It's a strange. I think it's a German name. Um, Also known as the story inspired the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Go back and watch that movie if you feel like you've got the heart. It is not for the faint of heart. It is a very creepy freaking movie. We will do our best to not pull data from that movie for the story next week, but we will cover it nonetheless. We're going to talk about the possession of Annalise Michelle. Uh, Thank you again, Lip, for being here tonight. I appreciate you coming in as soon as we started. It's nice to have somebody to talk to for once. Hopefully, here in the next few weeks, we'll get the co-host back, and you'll get to meet the rest of the crew. So before I go, I want to say if anybody listening has any ideas for an episode of the podcast, or you want to cuss us out and tell us how bad we're doing, you
Looking
can email
forwards
us
to
at.
it.
Thank you so much. Uh, if you want to email us and let us know how bad we're doing, or you just want to cuss us out or tell us an idea for an upcoming episode, you can always email us at beyondshadowspodcast@gmail.com. That is Beyond Shadows Podcast at gmail.com. You can also find us on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, anywhere that you get your streaming uh, inquiries through the week. We have we've come to 52. I think we're somewhere right around 50 episodes worth of episodes to go back and listen to. Uh, feel free to go back and listen to the older episodes. They're so good. Uh, moving forward, we're going to continue with this platform. We're going to stick with the audio. We're going to try to get the levels right. And I say again, if you want to reach out to us and let us know how we're doing, or if you have an idea for an episode of the podcast, feel free to email us at beyondshadowspodcast@gmail.com. I'm going to get out of here. I'm hungry, and my wife is waiting for me in the other room, and I'm tired. So, thanks again for being here, Lip, tonight. I appreciate you. I will see you guys and gals next week, where we talk about the possession of Annalise Michelle.
Have a good one.
Thank you so much, Lip, for being here. I'll see y'all next week. Have a good night, everybody. Oh, I clicked the wrong one. Here we go. It's all right. See you. Have a good night.
A creature like that. How would it ever die?
And this monster starts running right at me.
Annihilated by nuclear bombs.
Beast is not dead. I put 4 bullets into him.
Why, you're crazy.
But I saw that monster too. All I want is for someone to believe me.
Contaminated.
Face. Horrible. Look like it would scare you to death.
All right, let's get to work.
Beyond the shadows.